So a little bit of backstory before I introduce our players that are going to be playing with us tonight. D&D is really the reason why I'm still here, to be honest with you. Last year, it was now 4 days ago, was the anniversary of when my wife decided that she wanted a divorce. And that was probably, honestly, the worst day of my entire life. It put me in a very dark place for what feels like a long time. A year is not really all that long, but during that time, I was in a really dark place. And, mentally, which ended up translating over to physically, emotionally, all the Lees, right? Every Lee was bad, we'll just say. But one constant during that entire thing was D&D for me. D&D was allowing me to do a couple things. It allowed me to escape away from the pain that I was feeling, because during that time, it was a lot that happened. Little thing that happened beforehand, my car broke down, lost my car. Wife said she wanted a divorce, lost my wife. Subsequently, she's keeping the home, lost the home. During that period, fell behind on work, lost my job. A lot happened. Very dark times. But when I got to the table, two things happened. One, I didn't have time, because I was the dungeon master. I didn't have time to worry about what I was feeling. I didn't have time to worry about the pain that was bubbling up inside me. So I kind of was able to separate myself from it and escape from it. But number two, I found that the characters that I was creating during that time, because that's one reason why I love being a dungeon master. I don't get just one character like you players. You players are stuck with one. I get like a million. But those players, a lot of them, those characters rather that I created, a lot of them had really a very common thread that I was starting to notice, and that's they all had some sort of pain that they were going through. And so what I started to realize was that my playing of D&D, which again, I was a dungeon master, but I still consider me playing. I mean, I was just basically the one who was running the sandbox, right? But I was still playing. When I was playing the D&D and I was putting that pain into those characters, that was my pain. I was bringing my pain into those characters to allow myself not only to escape from the pain, but take the pain, put it in to make it a more effective character, which is great, but also allow me to process through my pain in a healthier way than just, well, what I was doing. And that was just basically sitting in a room crying, right? So with the anniversary that was coming up, and this was a couple weeks ago, I got to thinking, what is a way to kind of, I guess, put a pin in everything, or put some sort of, I guess, closure onto all of that chapter of my life? It would be to allow the constant of that chapter, that the only thing that really at that time was a positive influence on my life during that time, allow that to transition into my new chapter. And that's what this is going to be about. That's what this Steal to Save, a Baldur's Gate heist, is going to be about. It's going to be about people playing, but it's also going to be about people being able to process through, if they're feeling things in their own personal lives, allowing their characters to feel that pain for them, so that way they can help heal that hurt that they're feeling. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this. And on top of that, I really wanted to be able to harken back to the origin of my obsession with D&D. And so the little bit of the backstory, I did put it in the video that was kind of previewing this beforehand, so I'll kind of just go over it kind of briefly. But really, at the end of the day, I was a D&D fan back in, I want to say it was like junior high, maybe like freshman year of high school. I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool thing. I got the 3.5 Player's Handbook, started reading through it. I made a character. It was awesome. He was so cool. But I grew up in a very, it wasn't a rural, yeah, I can't talk tonight. It was not a rural, that's a weird word to say. It wasn't a farm-like city. We'll say farm, not rural. We'll say farm. It wasn't a farm-like place because it was just a suburb of Detroit, but it felt like that. It was very much, NASCAR, whenever it was on, that was like the Super Bowl for people. The Daytona 500, that was the Super Bowl in my town. So there wasn't really a lot of nerds like me growing up. So I wasn't able to play. So I kind of let my love of D&D just kind of go by the wayside. because I didn't have anybody to participate in it. I think it was Deborah Ann Wool that kind of said that D&D is kind of funny like that, where it's like, it's a super nerdy thing that typically the stereotypical, like, antisocial kind of nerds want to play, but you need other people to play it. It's almost like one of those catch-22 kind of things, right? So that happened. But then, of course, Baldur's Gate 3, which I feel like a lot of people who are starting to play D&D for the first time recently can kind of attest to this as well. Baldur's Gate 3 came out. My ex-wife started to play it, and I was watching her play it, and I was like, this is kind of a cool game. I definitely want to get into this. And so I started to play as well. We started to play together. We started to talk about it and sharing our memes and videos with each other and everything. It was a great bonding experience for my wife at the time, my ex-wife and I at the time. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I mean, this is digital D&D. I mean, yeah, it's not the exact same rules, but they were using a modified version of 5e rules, right? It was basically like you're playing a digital version of somebody's homebrew table. And I was like, let's play. And my birthday was coming up, and so I said, hey, for my birthday, let's get a couple friends together. Let's go down to Gatekeeper Games, which is this awesome nerd shop down the street from me, and let's play. And she said, yeah, let's do it. So I created a one-shot, which was going to be a simple heist, and that one-shot turned into a 3-month kind of mini campaign, as often D&D one-shots can have happen. And so it became Baldur's Gate, the Baldur's Gate heist that you're seeing, Steal to Save, a Baldur's Gate heist. It was a 3-month about 3 months that we did it. I wrapped it up because we ended up transitioning it into an official campaign as well. And ever since then, I've just been in love with it. You know, I created a D&D channel for a little while, which I do intend to get back to. I may or may not have become a dice goblin with all my dice. And this isn't even my full collection. And, you know, I got the books. I've gotten several different things to fuel my obsession. And so, again, what I wanted to do with Steal to Save was bring it back, modify it a little bit with a little more of the knowledge that I have now as a dungeon master, and really just be able to play with a couple people again. And because I'm vain and because I want all the clicks, I decided to live stream it. So that's what this is going to be about.